Every Friday night, I'd send my parents $700. By clockwork. For 10 months straight, I never missed once. I told myself it was helping them. But really, I was buying something else, their approval. Last Tuesday, they promised they'd come to my son's birthday party. They swore on it. But when the day came, they never showed. Not even a text. So I called. And what my mother said made my blood run cold. "We don't consider him our grandson." My hands went numb. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just sat there staring at my phone and started canceling every single payment I'd ever set up. One by one. 30 minutes later, my phone rang. That call changed absolutely everything. For almost a year, my Friday nights looked identical. After putting Tommy to bed, I'd open my laptop and send the money. $700 every single week. No questions asked. It wasn't because I wanted to. It was because I felt like I had to. Like maybe if I kept showing up for them, they'd finally show up for me. I grew up thinking I was never good enough. Too loud, too stubborn, too different from what they wanted. And somehow, even at 32 years old, I was still trying to prove I mattered. The transfers kept them quiet. They'd call when they needed something. A new washing machine, car repairs, medical copays. I'd pay before they finished asking. My mother never said thank you. Not once. My father would grunt, "Got it," and hang up. But I kept going. Because silence felt better than fighting. Tommy would ask about them sometimes. He'd see other kids with their grandparents at the playground and tug my sleeve. "When can I meet Grandma and Grandpa?" I'd smile and lie. "Soon, buddy. They're just really busy." He believed me every time. Kids do that, they trust you completely. I used to trust my parents too. I thought one day they'd soften. That time would heal old wounds. I even pictured them sitting in our tiny living room, laughing with Tommy, telling him stories. But every conversation reminded me how impossible that was. My mother's voice was always sharp, businesslike. "Did you handle the electric bill? Your father needs new shoes, size 11. I was a bank account to her, not a daughter. At night, I'd watch Tommy play pretend with his toy cars. He'd line them up and say, "This one's Grandma's car and this one's Grandpa's car. They're coming to visit." My chest would tighten watching him. He was creating a family that didn't exist. So when his 6th birthday rolled around, I went overboard. I rented a bouncy castle, bought a superhero cake, hung streamers everywhere. Tommy wore his Spider-Man costume and couldn't stop smiling. "Do you think they'll really come today, Mom?" he asked, watching the driveway. I squeezed his hand. "They promised, sweetie. Let's wait a little bit." But I knew. Deep down, I already knew. By 4 o'clock, the cake was mostly gone and the ice cream had melted into soup. Kids were running through the sprinkler, laughing and screaming. But Tommy sat on the front steps, still watching the empty street. His cape dragged in the dirt. Every car that passed made him sit up straighter. Then his shoulders would slump again. "Mom!" His voice was so small. Maybe they got lost. I sat beside him, wrapping my arm around his tiny frame. "Maybe, baby. Maybe they had car trouble." But there was no car trouble. No emergency. Just nothing. When the last friend left, Tommy helped me pop balloons. He didn't complain. He just quietly pressed each one until it burst. That night, after he fell asleep clutching his new action figure, I sat on the couch scrolling through pictures. Tommy blowing out candles. Tommy laughing in the bounce house. Every photo felt like evidence of how hard I'd tried. Then I saw the text from Mom. Sent at noon. "Tell Tommy happy 6th from us." That was it. 6 words. No apology. No explanation. Not even his name spelled right. She'd written Timmy. I stared at my phone until the screen went dark. Then I called. Dad picked up on the 3rd ring. His voice was annoyed, like I'd interrupted his TV show. "What do you want? Why didn't you come?" "Yes." He sighed long and heavy. "We didn't feel like driving." "Dad," I whispered. "Tommy waited for you all day." There was a pause. Then he said it. The sentence that shattered everything I'd been holding together. "We don't consider him our grandson." He's your mistake. The room tilted. My ears started ringing. For a second I couldn't process the words. What did you just say? He didn't answer. He just hung up. I sat frozen, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to dead silence. Tommy's drawings covered the fridge. Stick figures holding hands, a house with a big sun. I told him those were pictures of our family. Now they felt like lies. My hand started shaking so hard I had to set the phone down. I walked to Tommy's room. He was curled up under his Spider-Man blanket, breathing softly. His hair stuck up in every direction. I knelt beside his bed and touched his cheek. "You're everything," I whispered. "Even if they can't see it." Back in the kitchen I looked at the clock. 8:47 p.m. Almost time for my usual Friday routine. Checking that next week's payment was scheduled. My thumb hovered over the app. But this time I stopped. I poured Tommy's leftover juice down the sink and wiped the counter clean. And I stood there in the dark, knowing something inside me had just broken, and was finally ready to heal. I didn't sleep. I just sat at the kitchen table, watching headlights sweep across the wall as cars passed outside. His words kept playing in my head like a song I couldn't turn off. He's your mistake. Tommy wasn't a mistake. He was the best thing I'd ever done. The phone sat on the table in front of me. Not to call them back, but to undo years of damage one click at a time. For 10 months, I'd kept the peace by paying for it. Every Friday at midnight, guilt turned into dollars. Now I was done. I opened my banking app. The screen glowed blue in the darkness. I scrolled through automatic payments, groceries, rent, phone bill, internet, insurance. All of them had their names attached. I stared at the list, then started tapping. Cancel. Confirm. Cancel. Confirm. Each one felt like cutting a rope that had been choking me. My heartbeat slowed. My hands steadied. When I reached the last one, weekly transfer, $700 every Friday, I paused for just a moment, then deleted it. 10 months of habit gone. The kitchen was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. Then my phone buzzed. Text from Dad. "Can you send extra this week? Need to fix the fence." I stared at it. 25 minutes. That's how long it took them to notice. 25 minutes after calling my son a mistake, they wanted money for a fence. My finger hovered over the keyboard. I could have typed so many things. Screamed through text. Explained everything. But instead I just turned my phone face down and walked away. I went to Tommy's room and watched him sleep. His little chest rising and falling. His hand curled around his stuffed dinosaur named Blue. I sat on the edge of his bed and whispered, "Never again." Not to him. To myself. That's when the guilt finally died. I realized I didn't owe them anything. Not money. Not explanations. Not one more piece of my soul. My silence was louder than any argument could ever be. When I stood up, the air felt different. Lighter. Like I'd been carrying a backpack full of rocks and finally set it down. I turned off the hallway light and let the house sink into peaceful darkness. Some betrayals don't need a shouting match. They need a closed door. And that night, I buried the version of me that still believed parents always love their children. The next morning, sunshine came through the kitchen window like nothing had changed. But everything had. I made coffee and tried to focus on normal things. Tommy was still asleep. The house was quiet. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. "Ms. Parker. This is Linda Chen. I manage your parents' apartment building." My stomach dropped. "Yes. The rent didn't come through. That's unusual for you. Is everything okay?" Unusual for me. Like I was supposed to pay their rent forever. "I'm not paying it anymore," I said. My voice sounded strange. Calm, firm. "They'll need to handle it themselves." He paused. "They told me you managed all their bills." "I used to. Not anymore." When I hung up, I felt something crack open inside my chest. Not pain. Relief. At 11 o'clock, my sister called. "Pen. Mom is freaking out. She says you've abandoned them." I laughed, actually laughed. Abandoned. That's rich. She's telling everyone you're being cruel. Let her, I said. Then my sister's voice changed, got quieter. Good. I'm done too. What? I've been sending them money too. $400 a month. Groceries, gas, random stuff. I thought if we both helped, maybe they'd change. My mouth fell open. They never told me. They never told me about you either, she said bitterly. Guess we were both paying for the same guilt. I sank into a chair, gripping my coffee mug. So they lied to both of us. Yeah. But we're stopping now. You did the right thing. Before I could respond, another notification popped up. Facebook tag. A video titled, Our Side of the Story. My blood went cold. Oh no. Don't watch it, my sister said quickly. But I already was. The thumbnail showed my mother dabbing her eyes with a tissue, my father beside her looking serious. Mom's voice cracked. We've always been there for Penelope, but she's spreading lies about us, saying we're terrible grandparents who don't care about her son. None of it is true. Dad leaned toward the camera. She's been forcing money on us for months. We think she has problems. Felt nothing. Just numb. Then came the moment I'd been dreading. My father held up a printed photo of Tommy in his Spider-Man costume and said the same words again, slower this time. This boy is not our grandson. He never will be. Closed the video. Couldn't watch anymore. Within an hour my phone exploded. Messages from cousins, old friends, neighbors. Are you seeing this? Is this real? What's happening? Comments piled under their video. Who says that about a 6-year-old? She probably deserved it. Praying for their family. If this is real, it's disgusting. I turned my phone off. The house was too quiet. Like even the walls were holding their breath. Later my sister texted. Don't post anything. Let them destroy themselves. I listened. Silence, I was learning, could be more powerful than rage. By evening, the video had spread through our small town. Their church friends shared it with praying hands emojis. But other comments were different. What kind of grandparents say that? This is heartbreaking. The tide was turning. The next morning Linda texted. Your parents have 30 days to vacate. I'm sorry. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. 3 days later my cousin Jessica called, voice shaking with anger. They showed up at the family barbecue. Can you believe it? I frowned. They weren't invited. They came anyway, trying to get sympathy. But Jess, you need to see this. He sent me a link. Another video, grainy and shaky. Shot from someone's phone at the barbecue. Picnic tables, paper plates, kids running around. My parents stood in the middle, Mom talking to a circle of relatives. No matter what Penelope says, we love her. And that poor child. He's just confused. Then Jessica's voice cut through, loud and clear. Before or after you called him a mistake? The camera swung toward her. She was holding up her phone, volume blasting. From the tiny speaker came my father's voice, unmistakable. He's your mistake. Shul gasp. My mother's face went white. My father froze. The entire backyard went silent except for a dog barking somewhere far away. Then Uncle Marco stood up, voice calm but final. If that's how you treat your own family, you're not welcome here. Nobody argued. Nobody defended them. They left without a word, heads down, shoulders hunched. The camera panned back to Jessica. Someone muttered, "Good riddance." I watched it 3 times. Then I laughed. A quiet, releasing laugh that came from somewhere deep. My sister called that night. You saw it. I did. They humiliated themselves, she said. Finally. They did, I said softly. And I didn't lift a finger. Sometimes the truth does the work for you, she whispered. That night, I sat beside Tommy's bed while he slept. His hand wrapped around Blue the dinosaur. For the first time in months, my chest didn't hurt. I listened to rain tapping against the window and thought about every Friday night I'd wasted paying for love that didn't exist. I opened my laptop. Not to send money but to check the history. 10 months of payments. Line after line. I scrolled to the end and whispered, "Not anymore." The next morning our town's Facebook group exploded. Local couple exposed for disowning grandson. Someone had combined both videos, their live stream and the barbecue scene. The comments were brutal. Fake love. You can't erase your own blood. That poor little boy. By noon, their church removed their photos from the website. Linda changed the apartment locks. Their supporters went silent. I didn't post anything. I didn't celebrate. I just took Tommy to the park. He drew spaceships on the sidewalk with chalk and said, "Mom, this one's for Aunt Rachel." The air smelled like rain and fresh-cut grass. He laughed, and the sound was so pure it made my eyes water. When we got home, there was an envelope in the mailbox. Cream-colored paper. My name in elegant handwriting. Inside was a note from Aunt Virginia. "They chose pride. You chose your son. That's what real family looks like." I folded it carefully and put it in my jewelry box. Some victories don't need applause. That night, tucking Tommy into bed, he yawned. "Mom, can Grandma and Grandpa come next time?" I hesitated, brushing hair from his forehead. "No, sweetheart. They won't be coming anymore." He thought about it then nodded. "That's okay. Uncle Dan is funnier anyway." I smiled, kissing his forehead. "Yeah, buddy. He really is." When I turned off his light, the room wasn't empty. It was full of peace, safety, love. The next week felt like breathing after holding your breath underwater. Chaos faded. The messages stopped. My parents deleted their social media accounts completely. Their church posted a vague statement about family healing, but everyone knew what it meant. I didn't feel victorious. Felt free. The kind of freedom that sits beside you in the morning sun and lets you just be. Tommy was humming at breakfast, building a tower with his cereal. He didn't know about the storm that had finally passed. My sister came over that weekend with cookies and a smile that reached her eyes. "You look different," she said. "Lighter." "Maybe I am," I replied. We drove to Aunt Virginia's for Sunday dinner. Apple pie cooling on the counter. Tommy colored at the table while we talked about boundaries, respect, and what real love actually looks like. Aunt Virginia hugged me tight and whispered, "Peace looks beautiful on you." After dinner, she slipped a folded paper into my hand. "For when you doubt yourself." Inside was one sentence. "Saying no to toxicity is saying yes to love." That night, watching Tommy sleep, I realized the silence in our home wasn't empty anymore. It was protection. It was peace. It was everything I'd needed all along. I stood by his door, watching his little chest rise and fall under the glow of his nightlight. For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of tomorrow. I didn't owe anyone anything except us. My parents chose pride, chose freedom. And that choice, quiet, steady, permanent, was the strongest thing I'd ever done. If you've ever had to walk away to save yourself, you're not alone. Please don't forget to like, share, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe.